Welcome everybody. It's been a while since we've met. We had a kind of a long break. If you're anything like me, kind of a lot of memories have kind of gone out the window in the past few months. So we'll just kind of recap what we were doing in November, December, which was energy, and then we'll jump right in and talk about what we're doing for January and February, which is focusing on zero waste, which is a really big topic for us. We're about to make a lot of big changes on campus, and you folks are kind of going to be at the forefront of that. So if that's not what you're expecting, thanks for volunteering. I also just want to welcome, we have someone new who has not been part of Green Office this past semester. John Danner from Central Receiving signed up. He doesn't yet know what he's in for, so wish him luck. All right, let's get started. Also, before we begin, I also just want to introduce Sarah Schwartz. Many of you already know her, at least by email, but she just graduated in December, and now she's working with our office, kind of a bit more than she was in the past, and she's doing a lot of coordinating of the Green Office program along with myself, so you'll be hearing from her about as often, if not more often, than you hear from me. So for better or for worse. So this is just our agenda, but we'll just move right on. So the very first thing I want to do is give you guys something. We have, you remember a while back, you requested some nifty posters from us. They're all arrayed over on the table, so you can actually get up if you like and go get the poster from your office over there. You can do that right now if you like. Kind of the point. And you'll notice there's these little, like, kind of, I call them stickers, but they're not sticky, over there that say complete. You can take up to 3 of those because we've completed three of our different our months or themes. And you'll see a tape dispenser over there too. You can actually go ahead and stick them right on under energy savings, green commute, and green supplies, which are the topics that we've already tackled. Or if you're still working on those, then you can take them for later. And if you don't have a poster over there and you really want one, you think they're really cool, they're a great way to advertise that you're part of the program, track your progress, impress your friends and coworkers. There's also a sheet over there where you can sign up for one. Just write what you'd like down on it. We'll make it for you and send it your way. They're not put in on paper. They're on very highly durable plastics. They'll last a really long time. If they do outlive their usefulness and you want to dispose of them, it says right on there. But please recycle them as a plastic. As long as we're on the topic of waste. So during November and December, we were doing a lot with trying to save energy, and we were very successful. And I was super excited once I started tallying up all the numbers and saw really what our impact is. It's pretty incredible. We have over 350 computers that were changed over to energy-saving modes, which is great. So they're not going on screensavers, which take up a lot of energy just to keep the screen on, things like that. They're being turned off at night. We have 235 other electronics that are being unplugged at the end of the day, so we don't have all that vampire energy being sucked out of there. And over 200 desk lamps are using very efficient lighting, whether it's a CFL bulb, an LED, or if it has a solar panel on it. 21 offices or departments follow the holiday energy break, meaning they absolutely under no circumstances were sucking any of that vampire power while we were away for the break, which is fantastic. And once we have numbers from kind of the impact of that campus-wide, I'm looking forward to sharing those with you as well. 386 staff members print only with a networked printer, which is much more efficient energy-wise than using individual printers at desks, also from kind of a material standpoint as well. And what I thought was really significant was 145 light bulbs were removed from ceiling fixtures. And assuming that those are just our kind of our average T8, they're called T8 fluorescent tubes up in the ceilings. The energy we save from this in a single year would be the same as if we completely took 2 cars off the road, took 1.5 single-family homes off the grid, didn't produce over 3.5 tons of waste, or planted nearly 250 trees. And that's just from unscrewing light bulbs that were already there. So not a lot of effort, but a lot of impact. So I just want to give just a round of applause for all the people that just ditched the bulbs. That was incredible. And although it wasn't this year, I also want to recognize last year the library did a major project and took out something like 1,000 light bulbs. So, bigger space though, so. Yeah, I mean that's in the entire library, but still. And that should be up above there, just for continuity. But 13 shut-off timers are used on appliances as well. So that's really super. And during the month of November, we also had the Kilowatt Challenge going, and this was campus-wide, not just for people in the Green Office program. But here's our results. The President's Office building and the Ward Soko building both had incredibly high energy reductions during November. And this is based on just an equivalent week of energy usage. Although it says first and second there, this is in the dashboard, they're kind of the co-champions there just because they're 35.2 and 34, and it's really, really high up above number 3, which is also very significant. 22% is also incredible at the library. So President's Office building is actually just a Green Office. The Warsoka building has the SPA Dean's Office in it, who's a participant. The entire library is a participant. No other Green Office in the Media Production Center. And athletics and recreation is in Bender Arena. So congratulations to all those offices, and a lot of others did very, very well. Those are pretty incredible numbers. And that equates to the university saving over $13,000 during November on the energy, 112,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, or over 400,000 pounds of carbon dioxide that we were not emitting into the atmosphere through using electricity. So that's, again, really incredible. Very proud of that. And if you can go back and view the results, they're still online if you want to go back and figure out exactly, how the Media Production Center just lost out to the library. Do that. So we have some prizes for you guys based on how everybody did in November and December with their energy reduction. Our first place winner with a $20 gift card to Whole Foods to get some goodies for their office as a reward is Bender Library. It's a percentage rather than a point total because this month there were a few credits that didn't apply to everybody. So some offices write up a slightly different number because if you check off not applicable, it takes some of the credits out of the scoring system. Also, energy has the opportunity for more bonus points than any other month, which is why you see these percentages above 100. But the library is our winner. And our runner-up this month is housing and dining programs. Again, very, very well. And we had the Career Center was incredibly close. The Academic Support Center was also incredibly close. And so we give them those. And then also during those months, staff had the opportunity to take the Pledge to Conserve Energy. And anybody who took the pledge entered into a raffle to win the Solar Messenger bag. And the winner is Denise Lewis from the Registrar's Office. So I just want to share that with you guys, although she's not here today. These are the results. They've been updated today with new data, so this table is out of date, but this will be the updated table will be available for you guys on the J Drive, as well as on our, we just revamped the Green Office website if you look on there, and there's updated scores and everything on it, and lots of great other great info. So I'll send that link around as well in the next week. So now I'm done talking, so I'd like to invite up Mark Feist. Mark is our Assistant Director of Grounds, Vehicle Maintenance, and Support Services. In other words, he along with Helen Lee, our Zero Waste Coordinator, who unfortunately can't be here today, are really overseeing a pretty monumental shift in how we're managing our waste. So I'm going to turn it over to him and let him talk about that and have some show and tell.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Unfortunately, I didn't bring a lot of prizes, but I think you're all winners as far as being involved in the Green Office program, and it's great to be here this afternoon to talk to a captive audience about not only our zero waste, but a little more specifically, some of this really will be geared to, we're within minutes of implementing the organic collection on campus. So obviously that fits under the umbrella of zero waste, and as you will see, the organic collection portion of that really plays a very important role in us meeting our goal of zero waste to landfill and incineration. I also have Stephanie DiStefano is also here from our office with me today, and together with Stephanie and Helen, and also I have to mention obviously the Aramark staff. We've all been working together diligently over the last months and months in trying to put in place the implementation program. As Josh mentioned, it really is rather aggressive, and really, in some ways, will require a culture change as far as what we're doing on campus, because it's a little different, or maybe a lot different than what we've been doing in the past. So I mentioned zero waste, and it's a strategic goal of the university. And matter of fact, back in 2010, and again, I apologize if some of this information is kind of old news for you because of being involved in the Green Office program. But in 2010, Dr. Kerwin signed in to act the zero waste policy. We also, as we mentioned, hired a staff member, and that's Helen, to really focus on this whole initiative of zero waste. And clever enough, we titled her position Zero Waste Coordinator. Also, I'm mentioning last year with Recyclemania, we were very proud to finish first. But I think today you'll see where our zero waste program really goes miles beyond recycling. And that should become pretty obvious when we talk about, so how do we reach zero waste? So one thing we've been doing all along, and obviously will continue to do, actually as part of some of the lead documentation, is to perform waste audits for particular buildings. And we've done a number of those. I know the library is a good example, as one that we've done within this past year.
We did
Two.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually we did, in the library is a good example because some things were changed around there, so we actually did one before some changes were made and one after, and kind of compared the numbers as far as to see what the results were of implementing some additional collection sites within the library. But the waste audits really were informative to us in thinking about zero waste. And we were able to come up with this graph of sorts. And it shows, if you look, which was somewhat surprising to me, we really found that almost as much items that are now in our trash are greater than, or at least close to, the what we recycle, or what the potential for us to recycle on campus is. So that's why, we felt that it was extremely important, and maybe the first thing we should do, and indeed it is the first thing we're going to do, is to implement the organic waste collection, because if we do a really good job, it'll quickly bring us up to close to near zero, is what we want to say, excluding some of the non-divertible items at this point. But it's really an easy target, and we have pieces in place to be able to do that. So again, kind of going back to the basics, and we have kind of a simple definition of zero waste, or organics rather, as far as anything once living. And if you go through, as we do in the waste audits, our trash stream, this is a lot of what you find is actually compostable. And again, I think most of you are familiar, anything from coffee grounds to wooden stirrers for coffee, cups, napkins. And we do already a lot of the food waste as far as from the kitchen areas or the dining rooms, and also the paper towel composting and collection. So then we really took a lot of time insofar as comparing ourselves, what we do compared to other universities and schools, and we were in a search to select really the best container system for our campus. And what we found is the one I actually brought here, so I have a real live sample of the prototype, is the container identified on the slide as well. And the idea is that it really met all of our criteria insofar as not only just being a container, but also a means of education and marketing our program. We felt that was important. And to stand out as far as this is a recycling container, these are the various sorts to be followed. And specifically the graphics. And depending on the locations where these are being placed, we do obviously have the option of, if there's a narrow, long area, we can place them in this fashion. But then in the more narrow areas, we can have the 4 containers together in a small area as well. So the graphics, and it's a color-coded system that we have, basically for the organic waste. This is for metal, plastic, and glass with the green, which is identical to what we're doing now with our green containers. And then we have both the paper, as far as blue, what we're doing now. And then we changed trash to landfill. We just thought that was a little better terminology insofar as bringing home that when you're putting something in this container, that's where you're sending it, as far as the landfill is concerned. So our plan is to not only have this graphic and marketing opportunity, but also other signage where appropriate on the wall, or applied to where it makes sense to do more education and be more specific of what goes into what container.
Now, when you say landfill, that means incinerator?
No, it actually means a solid waste landfill. And the reason is we really early on, obviously with help and some studies we have done as far as the incineration process, and we really did not want to go that route at all, because long term it basically adds to the pollutants as far as carbon is concerned. And also with incineration, we feel that we're really never, if we're going that route, we're really never going to reach our zero waste goal, because it just would be easier to feel that we've accomplished things by sending it to incineration, where it really didn't make sense as far as our environmental impact. So we currently, anything that's in our trash system that's not sorted goes to landfill. So that's what we're trying to get away from. So again, it just talks a little bit more about what I explained as far as color coding and some of the research and approval processes that we went through in selecting the container. This, well, I'll get to the more of the implementation in a minute. And again, just a one slide with what these will look like side by side. So once the containers were selected, we basically reviewed all of the facilities as far as floor plans are concerned and identified areas. And where we're focusing as far as the particularly the organic collection are kind of common areas in resident halls and kitchen areas, lobby areas. Those areas that the containers will be collected and emptied once a day, as they are now, as far as common and not individual, basically we'll be out of individual offices. And it's the same in administrative buildings or classroom academic buildings, insofar as common areas or kitchenettes, that type of thing. And I know a number of the offices here are represented in our pilot program, so we have containers in some of the kitchenette areas in some of the administrative offices. And again, it's just a more specific slide as far as we've actually mapped out for when we start putting containers, the organic containers, in the buildings. And again, it just basically shows the different categories, and the one slide as far as the division of organics, recycling, and then kind of non-divertible, that 10%. And the reason purchasing is here, because some of that is represented insofar as the non-divertibles. We just really are going to need to attack that to meet that last 10% insofar as what we're bringing on campus. We're also going to rely on some of the improvements that have been made from corporate folks, you know, the chip bag dilemma, that type of thing. So, you know, we're really going to hopefully lobby and apply pressure maybe as a larger group so that we can try to get manufacturers to be selling things that we're going to be able to then either compost or recycle more so than what we're doing now. So that 10% really falls into that category. And obviously, you know, the consumer plays a great role, our housekeeping staff, as well as our contractor that comes on campus. So these are all things in its entirety that we looked at and made improvements. And we really have made changes in every single aspect of our recycling program, which we were doing well, but again, not enough as far as a zero waste policy is concerned in achieving that goal. So here actually is a list of some of the pilot offices. And in addition to that, I think most of you know, I mentioned earlier, Bon Appetit insofar as the TDR, all the food waste, all of our paper towel collections. And then outside, all of our organics are collected. And then everything, whether it's food waste or other organics or our yard waste, that's collected, put into containers, and then we deal with a couple different vendors. One is more of a farm-based composting site, and the other is a site, unfortunately right now, there's been some problems with the food waste composting sites insofar as permitting in this very local area, the Washington, D.C. area. So right now, our only option for the time being, and I see that changing rather rapidly insofar as the next 2 years, I really see something more local happening. We've also looked into on-site composting. I mean, that's a little more difficult, although they do have some very high-tech machinery that we would be able to use, so we're considering all of those options. But right now, we actually kind of piggyback our food waste with others and at a transfer station, and it goes to Wilmington, Delaware. And this is actually a little packet. We went out to visit the site of the compost that is your apple core and bananas. Basically, we buy back and then we apply that as either top dressing for the turf areas or soil amendments for our planting beds. So we try to complete that cycle, that recycling and the composting cycle.
Can we pass that around?
You
I
can,
wanna
yes,
take a look.
absolutely.
I love bagging dirt.
It was fascinating in Wilmington. You know, you think of, I didn't know what to expect exactly, you know, because I expected a real mess. But talk about high tech. I mean, all computerized. Basically, everything gets ground up initially. It goes into a building with a system that basically none of the air escapes into the atmosphere, but rather gets filtered down through the ground, so the odor is not a problem. And then it goes into their huge windrow, which are covered, and then there's several injector and monitors that are all backed into a centralized computer system, so they can tell the temperature, moisture level, and everything's automatic at that point. And it basically, within 4 months, they turn our garbage basically into a usable product that's being passed out. It's pretty fascinating. So, you know, we get a lot of questions. I'm glad we have somewhat, I said earlier, maybe preaching to the choir today, but we're in that process now of rolling this out to the AU community. And again, I mentioned it's going to be a culture change. I know it was a change in our building, in the Osborne building, when we first started the organics collection. So we know our job from this point forward. We figured out the details, but we just have to get the word out. That's part of what we're doing today. But some of the things that came up as far as the odor is concerned, and if you really think about it, we're doing organic collection now. We're just putting it into our trash can, so we're not changing anything there, but we are going to separate that. But then in some areas, the trash does sit like in the individual offices. So our plan is that we'll have common area collection sites, and the organics will be collected daily as they are in the common areas now. So we actually selected the open bin. I know in the pilot we have a closed bin. We also found from feedback that, you know, the odor with an open bin is less of a problem than with the closed system, because the odors tend to build up and with the lid. And then, you know, when they're opened, obviously there's a concentration of odor. But again, with the collection cycle and the open system, we feel that's going to really address the odor problem. Pest problems, that's something that was brought up. And early on, I know Stephanie deals directly with our pest control company. We actually had them look at the container that we selected. And, you know, one of the things that they mentioned, originally there was a slight gap in parts of the interior of the container. So they said this is going to be a problem.
Can we use a liner, like one of those green compostable liners, or not?
We will, for the organics collection, have the green compostable liner in there. But in addition to that, the final order included not only the configuration of that container, but also a separate, it's almost a container within a container. So we're going to have a plastic liner and the compostable liner, so that if we do have an occasional spill, that it's easily cleaned. Even if we have a bag failure, it doesn't mean that we have either odor or the possibility of pests getting in from the outside.
And that was the change that we made after the pest control company took a look at the container, that they said, well, you're going to have bags tear, you're going to have bags leak, you're going to have fluid in the bottom, and possible fruit fly issues, that sort of thing. So that's when we decided to have the other container that slips inside this container that can easily be pulled out, washed, cleaned, and put back.
So we already talked about the daily pickup, the frequency, the composting. Does it happen on campus? No, it's not our, at least short-term, idea to compost on campus, but rather collect material, send it to the various sites that we're dealing with right now. As far as who to contact, obviously with facilities management, our preference, and we feel, you know, we're able to document your request through TwoFix online. But certainly, you know, myself, Stephanie, Helen, we're all resources as far as to you for questions or comments or suggestions, whatever the case may be. And I mentioned our other composting that we already do. And I think we hopefully know why that is important as far as meeting our goals. So again, here's a few more specifics as far as who to contact maybe on specific problems. And also we're online, thanks to Heaven, or yeah, Heaven, that's almost right, Helen.
I can tell you said that.
Yeah. Thanks to Helen bringing us up to date as far as technical help. Oh, you go right into that, huh? So here's another hat that I wear. So that, I should have explained maybe that. I work with 3 groups. So one's support services. I think most of you know our small team that we have for meeting setup and that type of thing. The other grounds, which the recycling and waste comes under. And the other group, which has been really great to work with, transportation operations and maintenance. And something that we've been working at for a while has been implementation of fueling our diesel equipment, but in this case our first phase is fueling our shuttle fleet with biodiesel. So, you know, I'm proud to say that we are doing that right now. We're going to have a big celebration, hopefully in Earth Month. So we'll pick Transportation Week, where we can celebrate our success with the biodiesel endeavor. But it's really been fascinating for me. I've learned a lot over the years in researching the use of biodiesel. And our plan, we started with B5, 5% of the biodiesel with the diesel mix. But we'll very soon accelerate that to what our goal is B20, so 20% biodiesel. And really, operationally, it really means that our shuttles are going to run with a lot less emissions, and there's a lot of other benefits insofar as the cleaning nature of biodiesel. So the engines really will run cleaner, and we should experience less mechanical breakdown because of that. The one drawback is that we're watching right now, when you initially change over, because of that cleaning action, we're just changing the fuel filters a little more often. So that's really the only glitch. And since we've identified that up front, hopefully that won't be a problem at all. So we'll reap the benefits, and it's really less expensive. We're fueling shuttles on campus now. We used to just drive down to the Spring Valley Exxon and fuel up, but now we have a little better control as far as our staff fueling the shuttles. And so far so good.
What is it composed of, the biodiesel?
The product we're dealing with right now is an agricultural-based oil. So it's soybean oil. Our hope is, as we progress and the market improves, and I know there's a lot of businesses, and there's even like a DC, there's been talk for a couple of years of having a supplier right here in the DC area. We purchase our biodiesel from Trigas, which is kind of out of Baltimore area. But our hope is we can very soon progress to kind of a animal-based, meaning used kitchen oil base. I mean, that's our longer-term goal. But right now, it's just supply-wise, that's what's available in a reliable form. So that's what we're using.
Do you know off the top of your head what the price difference is between a gallon of B20 and a gallon of diesel fuel, like today or recently?
I do. Very, very recent, anyhow. So the good news is, our first delivery is where we compare that, and that was a couple weeks ago. So it's as recent as that, and really the price hasn't changed since then. So we're realizing a 60 cent a gallon savings. So it's 60 cents less to have it delivered here, which is amazing to me as well. So gas stations are making some money, is what I'm thinking. So because we're only getting about 800 gallons, we were limited in the size of the tank is 1,000 gallons we have here, and it's a trailer tank. So it's not a permanent, it's above ground trailer. And it's 1,000 gallons. So originally we wanted a little larger tank because we feel that we could have had even a greater savings. But even at that, there's still that 60 cents a gallon.
What about the patrol cars? Did you mention that?
The patrol cars. So the next step in any diesel powered, so you have a couple in your fleet. We have a lot of trucks, and actually our vehicle replacement plan, because we identified this probably 6-7 years ago as far as trying to head this way. So where it made sense, we replaced our vehicles, kind of the snow plow trucks where we needed that extra power, with diesel powered, in anticipating that we're going to be fueling with biodiesel. So again, this is the first phase for the shuttles, but we'll quickly move to all diesel-powered vehicles, and then we have a tremendous amount of landscape equipment. Our tractors, they're all diesel-powered, so we'll be able to convert the whole fleet within a relatively short time. The big obstacle is just getting the tank and getting it filled and getting started. So it's the easy part now. Just like organic collection with your help. That's the other thing, really. I could certainly use your help because, again, I mentioned we've already, the plan is that we'll, toward the end of January, January 21st is when we anticipate the first delivery of organic containers. We will be doing all resident halls first, and then our plan after that is to building by building, kind of depending on the size of the building, the number of containers, kind of go in with a marketing publicity blitz and education for that building, do the installation, and basically finish all of campus, hopefully by the end of February time frame. And that, again, is for the organic portion. And we're going to use the same containers that we have been using for the other sorting. And then with the budget cycle, pending budget approval, we would move, as soon as the budget is approved, for the 4-container system that I showed in the slide. So hopefully that can all be done within the next year after the new budget comes out.
So we would be eliminating the circular ones that we have right now, substituting them with the 3 or 4 of these in stack.
Eliminating is we will do substituting them, but our plan for the other containers, because we still need to talk about zero waste events, some exterior collection, so we'll be repurposing the circular containers, and yes, replacing those with the new system, mostly in the interior permanent locations, and then using the other containers for more special events and inside and out, vendor arena or out in the amphitheater, that type of thing. So we'll use those containers that way.
And when again is this going to be implemented, the new containers?
Again, we'll start end of January for resident halls, and then February, let's just call it the month of February for the remainder of campus as far as organics is concerned. And then after May 1st would be the full implementation. We would just be going back and changing out the other containers.
And
Yeah.
follow-up. For the cardboard boxes that we normally break down and put next to these, how are those going to be handled when these new ones?
We are still, we really have thought about it. We brainstormed with Aramark, and we really feel that has worked. And as a matter of fact, on one of these, the paper, we basically have that notation as far as wrapping cardboard next to the container. So our plan is to not change that.
Okay.
And we really didn't feel that it would yield any greater participation or sorting problems would be solved by adding, a 5th container for cardboard, just because of the nature of the bulkiness of cardboard. Yeah, good. I like questions.
For food containers and things like that, I know at home normally we wash them before we put them in any of these separate bins, but is that a necessary step with doing with these particular bins? Should we wash like yogurt cups after we use them before we put them inside these bins?
Yeah, again, it depends on so it's a compostable
Right.
food container.
Right.
That's not a problem as far as washing,
Right.
because it's going to be going in with the rest. But if it's a plastic, that we're recycling, it still ideally should be washed and cleaned, because there's still certain contamination there that we want to try to eliminate. I mean, there's a small percentage of tolerance for contamination, but anything we can do to reduce that helps our overall process. So again, the organics is not a problem, but it's where we're actually recycling. But yes, it should be cleaned.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
And if anybody has any more questions for Mark, it's pretty easy to get a hold of. I put his contact information in almost everything I have for you this month. So sorry, Mark, but so for the next few minutes, I just want to kind of go over what we're actually be asking you to do this month, and before I do that, just a few kind of next step sort of things. And also just want to emphasize too that we really do appreciate your role as our educators for other staff members. You guys are kind of, because you come here and you heard this presentation, you have these resources available to you, are really our front line of information when other people have questions. Even though the biodiesel buses wasn't specifically about waste, we really want to keep you guys up to date with everything we're doing. So when people have questions, they know who to turn to as kind of their green office liaison. So thank you for that. Hope that's not too great of a charge. So if you haven't already signed in on the sign-in sheet, I'm not quite sure where it ended up. It's on the clipboard. If you haven't signed in yet, if you just do that before you leave, that would be great, just so we know who's here and who I should send additional info to. If you're here, we'll send you fewer emails. If you have a student intern working with your office, they'll be in touch with you very shortly. They get back next week, but their schedules have changed a lot with the new classes starting. So one of the first things to do in the new semester is to just touch base with them, schedule a meeting, just so if they need to find a new time to come into your office and work, they can do that, kind of work around their new class schedule. And also, right before we leave, I would love it if you guys would be willing to be in a group photo for me. Like I said, I've been revamping the Green Office website to make it a much better resource for you guys, but really the only thing that's missing right now is literally you guys. So I just love to have a picture like that because I'm kind of really corny and cheesy like that. So I'll end with, this is what this month looks like on the tool. Very similar to what the last few have looked like. So because you were here, you can put in the bonus question. And the bonus question is, what was the waste diversion rate that won AU a Recyclemania National Championship in 2012? So this is last year. This is our waste diversion rate from the Recyclemania competition last year. And this is what, there's just pictures of the VegWatt. Ignore those. And this is what won us our national championship for Recyclemania. The answer is 85.16%. Is the percentage of our waste we kept out of a landfill or incineration during the Recyclemania contest last year. Our overall rate for the year is a little lower than that. I believe it's currently about 75. Is that?
Actually, a little bit lower, like 68.
Oh, it's okay, 68. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was looking at the data from the year before that. So our overall annual waste diversion rate is about 68%. And implementing organics collection is really going to help bump that up because so much of what we send to landfill right now can actually be composted. So just our task this month is one of our big things is going to be removing the little desk side trash bins. And at first that's probably something we're going to get some pushback for because it seems like a big inconvenience, but there's a lot of benefits. It creates fewer bins that have to constantly be emptied. Our housekeepers have a lot to do, so it makes their jobs a little bit easier. It also reduces its number of bags we're throwing away, which is great. But more importantly, we find that when there's a central location for waste to be disposed of, for example, a series of bins like this, it can be disposed of more frequently. So especially with food, we want to make sure it goes there, not just so it can be composted, so it also doesn't end up smelling. But we find that when people just have this set of bins right there, they're much more likely to put their waste in the correct bin, increasing our waste diversion rates. And a lot of studies have shown that, and if you're actually interested in that, I'd be happy to share those with you. And people say, oh, I don't want to get up all the time to throw my trash away. Personally, I actually really enjoy it. It gives me every hour or so, I have a little piece of trash. It gives me an opportunity to get up and walk 8 feet over to the trash can, get a little bit of circulation going when I've been in front of my computer for a long time. So it's actually really not that bad of a thing, and we get some pretty big points for the number of bins you can remove. That's going to help our waste diversion rates go up. So similarly, this is something that should pretty much already be done, but I'm going to make sure that for every black landfill bin we have now, there's it's paired with recycling and organic bins. Previously it was just a blue and a green bin. Now it's going to include an orange bin as well. And again, we want to make sure people have all the options available to them, so that way it's not like, oh, I have to walk halfway across the room just to get to the recycling bin. It should all be there for them, so they don't have to make that decision. Similarly, like I mentioned, our overall waste diversion rate is 68%. It's a little over 2/3. Yet in the past, we found that our ratio of landfill bins to other bins was 3-to-1. So it's completely inverse between where our waste is actually going and what kind of bins we were actually giving people to put their waste in. So we want to kind of even that out and make sure that it's we're really showing true representation of where it's going based on where they can actually place their waste. Linked right on the tool, also available on the J drive. In the folder are signs you can put right above your trash bins. They are color-coded, just like these bins. They're meant to match. That have pictures on them, just like these bins do in the past. The pictures weren't on the bins yet. And we find that when people have those visuals, when they're throwing something away, it's a split-second decision of where they're going to put it. If we write out a big list of what can go in which bin, it's not going to do much. People won't read it. But when there's a picture, you can see those pretty instantly and know, oh, my aluminum goes in the recycling bin. I remember there was a comment when somebody first walked in, something like, oh, I didn't know you could recycle like tin foil, aluminum foil. And he said, yeah, because the picture was on there. So just posting those up above your bins gets you additional points. Using rechargeable batteries is big. We do have battery collection bins in various places. One of the signs that is free to put up lists where those are on campus because they're not as ubiquitous as these other bins. But not using disposable batteries is a big one too because those are all very often up in landfills and they're full of alkaline, other gross stuff that contaminates our water. And similarly, just all e-waste in general does this. So if you have any personal e-waste, 4 times a year, we come out in the quad, we collect it in these bins, and we recycle it for you free of charge. Other places to do this include, I believe, like Best Buy takes it. If you live in DC, the Tacoma Park Transportation does it, and you can find e-waste locations. They're listed on the Go tool as well if you're looking for more resources. If you have a university-owned piece of electronic equipment, we have to go back and catalog it and make sure that's done. So all you have to do is email ausurplus@american.edu, and we'll come pick it up for you and take it away, and you won't have to worry about it again. A month from yesterday, on February 8th, will be Office Declutter Day. If you remember from last year, we had some mysterious recycling superheroes drop in for a day. We heard a rumor they might return and kind of spread the waste diversion knowledge around campus. But the idea behind Office Declutter Day is an opportunity for you to kind of clean out old files and kind of organize your workspace. In doing so, it not only creates a better place for you to work, but also emphasizes that when we're cleaning out these files, they should be disposed of properly. And we'll send around instructions, you could, like recycling all the paper and cardboard, and also if you dig up some confidential documents, how you can properly dispose of those according to university policies and guidelines. And finally, you get some pretty major points too if you conduct a waste audit. If you did this last year, it was bonus points. This year, we found they're so easy to do that it's just a regular point this year. There's step-by-step instructions linked here and how to do this. The library's done it twice now. It's a lot of fun. And literally what this is, Mark talked about it a bit, is we take all the trash you generate in a 24-hour period, pretty much dump it out for you, and the staff in your office actually go through and sort it out into where it should go. And it gives us really good data on what's being thrown out where, and is an incredibly educational tool for the staff too, because they can really see who's throwing what where, and it's fun. And sometimes there's a bit of kind of like a peer pressure aspect to it, like, oh, I know you threw out that in the wrong bin, and so it's also really useful as an educational tool, which is the purpose of a lot of this. Here's our bonus question, and we're pretty much ending right on time. So I've another minute or two if you have any more questions. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'd love to get a group photo. Yes.
So for our group here, we will be getting the bins this month, the compost bins and all of this. We don't have to wait until February, or we do wait until February.
I believe. I think throughout February they'll be implemented in your offices.
We didn't plan. You mean you're in one of the pilot?
No, I'm not in the pilot, just in the green office. And I thought since this is for January and February, I thought we could do it before we asked.
Which building are you located in?
Rockwood, next to
Rockwood?
Safety. Yeah.
I was
the
in February.
The problem is going to be because we're rolling it out as far as the collection process with housekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
So we're set now for that in February. So it's not a matter of the container would be available, but the collection process wouldn't be in place. But soon.
And this applies to buildings that are off campus. We're in 3201 New Mexico. So
Off-campus buildings will take a little longer because I'm also 3201, so I feel the pain. And we also love to work with WCL and see if we can help make something like this work there as well. So great. Well, I'm always available for questions if any come up later. Also, Mark, Stephanie, and Helen, our zero waste coordinators. Contact info is on the PowerPoint, also on the workflow document. I'll probably put it in the email as well. So you'll have that in a number of places if you need to get a hold of them in a pinch, whether it's pest management, just asking questions about the bins or anything else. So thank you very much for coming. Feel free to grab some more food on your way out. But before you do so, if maybe we want to come over here and do like a group photo kind of against this neutral background here, that would be fantastic. That way I can like Photoshop in a giant shark or something.
Basically wanted to make it clear that
What we
this
have
is
a few
a priority
resident
of